Is it not possible they used a different weapon?
I don't think it is possible. They were both killed with the same kind of thing, right?
So then, what was used to kill Hifumi?
The weapon that was actually used to kill Hifumi. The whole picture surrounding this case won't become clear until we figure that out. Somehow I have to find the truth. And I know it. Whoop-de-doo.
What was used to kill Hifumi? Was it Justice Hammer 3? Maybe Justice Hammer 4?
Well, whatever it was, there's one thing we have to figure out. How was the culprit able to move around so freely with the weapon? How did nobody witness them carrying it?
Sounds like a Justice Hammer 5 is about to make its appearance! Check out murdergear.com/hammertime for more info!
Well, one thing seems pretty clear. The murder weapon had to be one of the Justice Hammers!
No, that's wrong. I know that's wrong.
Shoot!
So maybe I don't need to change it.
What was used to kill
Fuck,
Hifumi?
I didn't mean to do that.
Shoot!
What was used? Was it maybe Justice?
Well, there's one. How was the culprit? How did nobody...
Sounds like a Justice Hammer 5! Check out murdergear.com/
Well, one thing seems the murder weapon had to be one of the Justice...
There we go.
No, it's wrong!
The murder weapon wasn't a Justice Hammer at all. No, it was something completely different.
But, seriously? A different weapon?
Specifically, a hammer from the repository. The killer could have easily used that to kill Hifumi. Now, all the hammers in the repository were covered in flecks of grit and debris. But for some reason, one of them had been scrubbed clean.
Huh?
And the reason it had been scrubbed clean was most likely because it was used to commit murder. If the hammer got covered in Hifumi's blood, of course they'd have to clean it off. I'd also like to point out that the repository has all kinds of hammers. Big ones, small ones, and even some flat mallet-like ones. I think whoever made the Justice Hammers used those as a basis for their design.
If that's true, that would explain the Monokuma Files note about the wounds being similar.
So Hifumi moved Taka's body to the repository, where someone then used a hammer to kill him.
Whoever did that is the true killer. The one Hifumi was working with. And the one who betrayed him. Hold on a moment. I still think it's strange to assume someone was working together with him. The way the graduation rule works, there is no benefit to helping someone else carry out a murder.
It doesn't say anything, though, about splitting a cut of the money. They wouldn't think that through.
So the idea that anyone would work together like that is simply ludicrous. We talked about this, did we not?
At least it's what we thought at first, but... Oh, fuck.
Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
Based on the rules that have been laid out, even if more than one, only the one who actually carried out the act, assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
I don't know this part.
Shoot! Based on the rule, even if more than one, only the one who actually, assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible
That is.
But that only really applies if there's one murder. In this case, however, there were two murders.
Based on the rules that have been, even if more than one person is only the one who actually carried, assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible.
That is.
But that only really in this case, however, there were two murders.
Shoot!
So I really
Based
have
on
to
the rules
smack
have
that
been,
bad
even
boy
if more than
fast.
one, only the one who actually, assuming the rule holds
I'm just gonna hit it
true,
anyways, I
it
don't
is simply
care.
impossible that two people.
Shoot!
This is a hard case. This is a mess. Okay, now I know that I have to highlight and hit the last one really fucking fast.
I refuse to give up yet!
Same. We're gonna keep going. Good thing we've got a million choices or redos. Rebuttals. Alright, so it's the last one. Can do this.
Based on the rules, even if more than one, only the one who actually, assuming the rule holds true.
That is.
But that only really applies if there's one murder. In this case, however, there were two murders.
Are you fucking serious?
Shoot!
Okay, so the two murders and then impossible. Got it, got it, got it. It's clicking in.
Based on the rules, even if more than one, only the one who actually, assuming the rule holds true.
That is.
But that only really applies if there's... In this case, however, there were two murders.
Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more than one person is complicit in, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate, assuming the rule holds true.
Okay, there we go.
No, it's wrong!
Hey, caramba.
Since there were two murders, it's at least plausible that more than one person was involved.
What do you mean?
If there'd only been one murder, then yes, the idea of an accomplice isn't really worth considering. Naturally, if only one person can be saved per murder, an accomplice has no risk versus reward benefit.
Risk versus reward.
What if they fought? No,
benefit?
that doesn't make sense.
The
Timing's off.
payoff for working together. The reward that balances out the risk of taking part in a scheme. There's no point in being someone's accomplice if there's no benefit to you. However, if there were some potential mutual reward for the risk, then cooperation
I
becomes
bet you
possible.
Celeste has a laptop and she told Hifumi that if he killed Taka and helped her as an accomplice, she would give him the laptop.
You're saying that two people could act as each other's accomplices to commit two separate murders.
I think that's what the true killer told Hifumi. They would each have an accomplice for their crime. And based on the case's events, Hifumi would have been the first one to act, murdering Taka. They made him carry out the first murder so he couldn't back out of helping them later on.
So in this case, there wasn't one single person committing multiple murders. Instead, each person killed someone, creating two separate incidents. And it only looked like one person because that's how the true killer designed it to look. A single suspicious individual, a similar weapon used in each crime, disappearing bodies. By creating one seamless set of circumstances, they made it look like one person was behind it all.
Clever.
The mastermind picked their target and managed to convince him to go along with their plan. And then, to avoid the no accomplices rule, they simply killed their accomplice. Which, if true, means that betraying Hifumi was part of the plan from the very beginning.
Yeah.
That's just awful. How could anyone be so cruel?
You think so? I can't help but admire its cunning. Still, their choice of accomplice seems odd.
The effort made to convince us the two murderers the same. That was the main characteristic this time. Kyoko must have noticed that fact from the very beginning, which is why she said not to look at this as a series of connected events, but an entirely separate incidents. Kyoka really is amazing, although, when you think about it, she's almost too amazing. Like, it's almost unnatural how good she is at this.
I understand how an accomplice could be involved, but then who was the one pulling Hifumi's strings?
That's problem numero uno right now.
The true killer manipulated Hifumi to carry out a number of actions and in the end murdered him. In the debates up until now, the way the case has unfolded, when you consider all that, there's really only one person who seems to fit.
Here's my answer. It was Celeste.
So I'm the suspicious individual now, am I? I really do hate this kind of joke.
A joke? I wonder.
So what you are saying, then, is that I specifically chose to work together with Hifumi. The idea that I would choose to spend any amount of time interacting with him, that I would go within 10 feet of that shit from brain fat, lazy, worthless goddamn idiot! Pardonnez-moi.
Just to be clear, there is evidence to support it.
Is that so?
It is. Throughout the investigation, there was certain behavior that was common only to the two of you. Considering what we've learned so far, it only further proves that the two of you were working together.
What is it that only... Screaming?
Shoot!
Yeah. I was like, it can't be the screaming. Okay, it's the encountering the individual.
I got it!
That's what it was.
The behavior they had in common has to do with the suspicious individual in the suit, doesn't it? The only ones who ever actually saw Robo-Justice firsthand were Celeste and Hifumi.
Shush. The adults are talking now.
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste and Hifumi ever laid eyes on the costumed individual. If we accept that Hifumi was one of the culprits, we can't help but suspect what Celeste has said as well.
Are you saying everything they told us was a lie?
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct?
Yep.
And not too long after that, do you remember what Celeste said?
I saw a shadow, something moving around at the top of the stairs.
We headed to the second floor specifically because of what she claimed to have seen. Next, to draw us all to the physics lab up on the third floor,
She let out a blood-curdling scream.
and when we'd all come to see what was wrong, what was it she said?
Celeste, what's wrong? It was a rather intense scream for someone like you. I saw him, the strange costume man. He ran off as soon as I screamed. I was blocking the stairs, so he headed further down into the hallway and disappeared.
Once she'd done her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner to get to work.
Ooh. Look at us and our skills. We are so skilled. Look at us doing good things, huh? What was that? That came from downstairs. It must have been Hifumi. He's in the nurse's office. This is bad. Come on, we have to go back.
It was to get us to divide into two groups, so that we would discover both bodies at the same time?
In fact, Celeste was precisely the one who proposed that we split up.
Then why don't we split into two groups? I'll lead the hunting party. That seems much more interesting. Very well, then Makoto and Hino, you come with me to the nurse's office. I will leave the capture of the suspicious individual to Toko, Byakuya, and Sakura.
Well, if Celeste and Hifumi were working together, all those chance events suddenly become connected. And on top of that, that piercing cry of yours early on. That was to signal Hifumi, wasn't it? It was your way of telling him, we're on the 3rd floor. Everything's going according to plan. Why else would you let out a scream that could have carried across the sea?
Ooh.
I just realized another strange thing. When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, who we now know was only pretending to be dead,
She stayed behind. I certainly was not expecting this. I did not imagine that Hifumi would be murdered.
Celeste, you were the first one to say he'd been murdered. You wanted to make sure we wouldn't have any doubt in our minds.
I don't believe it! Everything, the whole thing was one big act!
Hina, you were with Celeste when Hifumi's body disappeared, right?
Yeah. I was feeling kinda sick, so Celeste took me to the bathroom. Wait! Then that was...
She wasn't worried about you. She just saw a chance to help Hifumi sneak out of the nurse's office.
Each piece isn't much by itself, but start putting them together and the picture gets very ugly indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you agree, Celeste?
I have no idea what you mean.
Don't bother trying to deny it. You made one fatal mistake.
Oh, did I?
I didn't even catch it myself when you first said it, but looking back, I can say that that one little slip-up was your undoing.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about what you said after Hifumi's body disappeared and we returned to the nurse's office.
They must really be enjoying this, enjoying the sight of us standing around frightened and confused. We're all going to die here. We're going to die just like those guys died.
I remember her saying that too, but I don't understand.
We didn't
what's so
know about
strange
Taka
about it.
yet.
Then pay attention. Sakura, Toko, and I were first to discover Taka's body in the equipment room. Then Makoto showed up and told us Hifumi had been killed. So Sakura and I left with Makoto. Once we were in the hall, we ran into Celeste, and the 4 of us headed to the nurse's office. Now, the entire time we were together, none of us said anything about Taka being dead. Think about it. Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. It was completely out of place.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Although I don't really get what it means.
You hear that, Celeste? Everyone's having some trouble understanding. Could you repeat what you said? If you're really not the culprit, you shouldn't have any problem repeating it, right?
Byakuya said that Celeste's comment doesn't make sense, but what is he alluding to? Guns. Tired of these guns. File?
All I said was... They must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. They must be positively elated. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys died.
That was the answer.
Shoot! Fuck.
All I said, they must really be enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are all going to die. We are going to die, just like those guys died. And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes to finish this. It's what was so strange about Celeste's comment?
Shoot!
I'm so fucking bad at this.
All I said was, they must really be enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys died. And that is all.
And that's all it takes. What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
And she said that she should only have known about Hifumi's death. With that in mind, what's so strange about what she said is...
All I said was, they must really be enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys
What
died.
the fuck am I supposed to do? I need to think there must be a contradiction in there somewhere.
All I said, they must really enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are going to die. Just like those guys died. And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes. What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
Oh my god, I don't know. So maybe it's so strange.
Shoot!
And then those guys, I don't know. I should put a tally on how many times I failed this case. Because clearly, this ain't it. Or I'm not it. Oh my god, this is so bad. Blah, 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 blah. Yes.
I refuse to give up yet.
Good. Oh my god. Alright.
All I said, they must really enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are going to die. And that is.
And that's all it takes to. What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
All I said, they must really enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are all going to die. We are going to die. Just.
Okay, there we go. Jesus
No,
Christmas.
wrong. That's right. There's no reason Celeste should have said, just like those guys died. When she said that, none of us had told her Taka was dead.
Exactly. And we didn't run into her until after we were all out in the hall. So there was never any chance for her to have seen his body in the equipment room for herself.
So how did you know, Celeste? How did you know more than one person had been killed? And how did you know they were both guys? Because Kyoko had also disappeared, right? So she could have been dead too.
You all have such vivid imaginations. You know that?
Imaginations.
You claim that I was lying when I told you about the suspicious person I saw.
The suspicious
Then
person
what
was
about the
Kyoko.
picture I took?
Oh.
How do you explain this picture of the costumed villain dragging Hifumi away?
Who's your assailant? Could have framed
It
it.
has to be some kind of setup, right? So let's put the suit on, and then
Oh, she drugged
let's
you,
use the
dumbass.
camera's timer to set up the picture.
Have you so quickly forgotten? You are the only one who could have possibly fit into that suit. Plus, I happen to know that this particular camera does not have a timer. In other words, it is an unassailable fact that this is a picture of Hifumi being dragged away. If everything I told you was a lie, how can this picture exist?
Simple. Are we sure that's really a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away?
What could you possibly mean by that?
Surely there are other explanations than the one you've offered up.
No, there is no other explanation.
Other explanations? If it wasn't a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away, the only other possibility is...
I got it! It's not a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away. I would say it's a picture of Hifumi dragging the suspect away.
That's certainly within the realm of possibility. The one being dragged off in that picture isn't Hifumi, but the person in the robot suit. We've simply been led to believe that it's the other way around. And the strange costume might only exist to lead us astray even farther. If you saw someone wearing something like that in this situation, of course you'd notice and be suspicious.
I almost picked the drinking one. I won't lie, because of all the bottles on the in the
You
rec
want me
room.
to sleep and made me out to be the bad guy in all this.
Such a thing is utterly impossible. Hifumi was dragging him away? Ridiculous.
Is it? I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
Then shut your mouth and allow me to educate you.
The audacity. Celeste thinks she can prove there's no way Hifumi was dragging the suspect away. But is that really possible? This needs to stop. I'm getting tired.
You dressed me up in that suit after I passed out. Then you just draped me across Hifumi and had him carry my weight. You tried to make me look like the bad guy.
Like I said, ridiculous. As you can see in the picture, the suspect is standing perfectly upright. If the person inside the suit was unconscious, there's no way they could stand up straight like that.
Then the fortune-telling idiot is the culprit after all!
No way!
She said that he couldn't bend at the waist.
You dressed me up in that suit after I passed out. Then you just draped me across Hifumi and had him carry my weight. You tried to make me look like the bad guy.
Like I said, ridiculous. As you can see in the picture, the suspect is standing perfectly upright. If the person inside the suit was unconscious, there's no way they could stand up straight like that.
No, that's wrong. No. Even if the person inside the suit were unconscious, they could still stand up like that. Because that Robo-Justice suit had a certain characteristic.
You totally can't bend at the waist. Seems like a pretty obvious oversight.
That's right! They totally made a mistake when they made it, so it couldn't bend at the waist.
I'm not so sure that was a mistake. I think the suit was designed from the beginning to be used the way it was.
Celeste and Hifumi took the suit they'd specially designed and stuffed Hiro into it. That's how they were able to fake that whole thing. The point of it all was to make us believe whoever was in the suit was to blame.
Well then, I suppose this is checkmate.
Checkmate?
She's about to snap.
Don't make me laugh, you idiot! What do you mean, checkmate?
Celeste?
Clearly, you want to cram me into your little guilty box. Well, there's one little problem.
Have you already forgotten what Hifumi told us as he lay dying?
Hey Hifumi, who was it? Who attacked you? Who tried to kill you? Who killed me? That's right, I remember their name. Yasuhiro.
When we asked him who had attacked him, his answer was quite clear, was it not? He said, and I quote, Yasuhiro.
In other words, Yasuhiro Hagakure!
Right, but my name isn't really Yasuhiro. It's actually Taro.
Your confusing statements don't make any sense. You're only making things more complicated.
He did say Yasuhiro, but are we sure he was really pointing the finger at Hiro?
What the hell are you talking about? I'll burn you alive!
Kyoko, what do you mean by that?
Think back to how Hifumi used to talk to us. How did he refer to each of us?
Last
I
names?
got it! That's right! Our last names! He called us all by our last names!
Exactly. I know I heard him say Mr. Naegi more than once, for example. So if Hifumi did mean to say Hiro's name, he would have said his last name, Hagakure.
I'm sure it was just incidental. By chance, his first name.
Indecent?
Don't talk.
Random chance. Now isn't that a convenient explanation? No, there's no reason to think he would have said the name any different than normal. But he must have run out of energy before he could say any more.
So Hifumi was trying to tell us the last name of whoever killed him?
But the name he said doesn't apply to anyone here.
Well, no. Hold on. There's one person it could apply to, and that's Celeste. She never actually told us what her real name is.
What did you just say? To think you'd take your false accusation so far, I don't know whether to laugh or spit! Come on! Enough with your idiotic blather! Yasuhiro is a loser's name! Do I look like a loser to you? Well, do I? What? I think I've earned the right to be a little on edge.
Okay, then fill us in. What's your real name?
Make sure your ear holes are wide open and listen up! My real name is Celestia Ludenberg. Could you please stop making me repeat myself over and over again?
Celeste still won't give up, so then I have to do something to make her accept it. Don't make me do the dance with her. Oh god. E-handbook.
Hifumi was trying to tell us something. He wanted us to know the killer's last name, Yasuhiro.
If there's one person here who might have that last name,
It would have to be you, Celeste. You haven't told anyone what your real name is.
how many times do I have to tell you? My name is Celestia Ludenberg! God damn it!
How long do you plan to go on pretending?
I'm not pretending. It's the truth. And since you have no way to contradict me,
Bitch.
No, that's wrong.
Show us your goddamn handbook.
That's it. The handbook.
what?
Anytime you turn your handbook on, it shows the owner's name when it boots up, right? Monokuma told us all about it before.
This handbook is absolutely vital to a healthy school life, so don't lose it. When you start it up, it will display your name. Always make sure you have the right one. Now, this is not your everyday notebook. It has so many more uses than that.
So all we have to do is check her handbook, and that'll clear up
I'm
everything.
curious to see how she's going to die.
That's how we can find out Celeste's real name.
That's an invasion of privacy. I refuse to cooperate.
Celeste, can you please just tell us what really happened? Please, just tell us.
Even when I'm put in check, it's just my nature not to give up. Because
She dies of old
until the
age.
game's over, you never know what might happen.
Fine.
I might die of old
Let
age
me
if she
settle.
keeps this argument up.
Let me go over the case again, from the beginning, and shed light on all your crimes.
Is it comic book time?
And that'll bring everything to an end.
Alright, it's climax time. Okay. There's this poster in here still. In this case, how did the killer recruit their accomplice? Was it seduction? It wasn't with this poster. The fuck is this image? What is this image? Don't tell me it was literally a bag of chips. Please don't. What time did the killers call their victims to the rec room? What was it that the killer summoned first? Where's what's his face? Where are you? They knocked him out, then stuffed him in the Justice suit, not Juicy suit. And they used a certain item to do it. Right? What time was Taco supposed to head to the equipment? 6. And then kabang shebang. The Justice Hammers that was used to kill Taka, what number was it? It was number 3? One, 2. Yeah, that sounds right. In the library, Hifumi used something to make the fake existence of a shadowy criminal. What? I don't know, is it this weird fucking picture? If the Justice Hammer was in the nurse's office, Hifumi was pretending to be dead. What is with this backpack? Justice 2. Hifumi used something to move Taka's body. There's a dolly, but there's no picture of a dolly. Is it the backpack, really? Can't be. Like, there's really no dolly picture? Oh, it's this picture. Put that there. What's this image then? In the library, Hifumi used something to fake the existence of a shadowy criminal. I don't know what it could have been. I'll come back to it. The weapon the killer used for Hifumi was the regular mallet. Is it the camera? No, it can't be the camera. It's... I have no idea what that picture's supposed to be.
You! Before anything, the killer persuaded someone to help carry out the murder. And that person was...
Okay, so it's not those chips. Okay. There's literally nothing to justify this.
The killer is... you!
I have no idea.
Before anything, the killer persuaded...
In this case, how did the killer recruit their accomplice? Was it seduction? I really don't know what else it could be, unless it's really that fucking picture. But that doesn't make any sense. Maybe this is not supposed to be there. Maybe you go here, and What is this? In the library, Fumi used something to fake the existence of a shadowy criminal, and I don't know what the fuck that is. I'm going to just guess this backpack.
You! Before anything, the killer persuaded someone to help carry out the murder. And that person was...
Okay.
Hifumi. With an accomplice, the killer was able to execute a number of otherwise impossible schemes. First, they convinced someone to meet them in the rec room last night at 1 in the morning. That someone they met with was Hiro. The murderous duo intended to pass Hiro off as the prime suspect. So when they met up with him, they drugged him, knocked him out, and stuffed him into the Robo-Justice suit. Next, Hifumi positioned himself to make it look like Robo-Justice was attacking him, while the killer used a digital camera to take pictures of the assault. They did all this just to create evidence that would put the suspicion on Hiro. When they were done with him, they shoved him, still unconscious, into the pool room locker. And then finally, at 6 a.m., they moved into the murder phase of their plan. They called Taka to the equipment room. And that's where Hifumi killed him, making it the scene of the first murder.
Okay, so it was number 4. I thought it was 3.
Here's exactly what happened. And that's where Hifumi killed him, making it the scene of the first murder. The murder weapon was Justice Hammer 4, which was left there in the equipment room. The reason Hammer number 4 was used was to create confusion about the order of the crimes. So, next they falsified 2 more assault incidents. For these attacks, the killers pretended to be the victims to solidify Robo-Justice as the suspect. The first fake incident was the attack in the rec room. There, the killers wanted us to see Justice Hammer 1 and the Robo-Justice pictures they'd taken. They wanted to make sure we bought the surprise attack story. The second fake incident was the attack in the library.
Had to be the other hammer then.
This time, they planted Justice Hammer 2 and an injured Hifumi to sell us that story. With these 2 incidents, the killers were able to create a certain preconception in our minds that the suspect was increasing the size of the hammers and attacking people in order as they did. We fell right into their trap and started looking for the suspect based on that. But
the only other thing is Justice Hammer 3.
here's exactly what happened.
Because if it's those fucking bag of chips, I'm gonna be so livid.
So, next they falsified 2 more assault incidents. For these attacks, the killers pretended to be the victims to solidify Robo-Justice as the suspect. The first fake incident was the attack in the rec room. There, the killers wanted us to see Justice Hammer 1 and the Robo-Justice pictures they'd taken. They wanted to make sure we bought the surprise attack story. The second fake incident was the attack in the library. This time, they planted Justice Hammer 2 and an injured Hifumi to sell us that story. With these two incidents, the killers were able to create a certain preconception in our minds that the suspect was increasing the size of the hammers and attacking people in order as they did. We fell right into their trap and started looking for the suspect based on that. But
Are you fucking kidding me? It's really? 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 I was so come on.
I refuse to give up yet.
Okay, fine. Oh man, where's the creepy face? Okay, creepy face. Then 1 a.m. And then camera. And 6 a.m. And Justice Hammer 4. I don't know what that one is. In the library, fake the existence of a shadowy criminal. I don't know. Justice Hammer was in the nurse's office. Maybe something to move Taka's body. Clean out.
Here's exactly what happened.
I hope that's right.
Before anything, the killer...
It's gonna be that bag of chips.
Hifumi. First, they convinced someone... that someone the murderous duo intended to pass... They drugged him, knocked... Next, Hifumi, while the killer used it, they did all this just to create... When they were done with him, they... And then finally, they called Taka to the... And that's where Hifumi killed... The murder weapon was Justice Hammer. The reason Hammer number 4 was...
Okay, now back to where we were,
So,
hopefully.
next for these attacks, the killer... The first fake incident was there. The killers wanted us... They wanted to make sure we bought the second fake incident. This time, they planted... With these two incidents, that the suspect was increasing... We fell right into their trap.
Thank you. Oh, sweet Christmas.
While we did that, we left Hifumi alone in the nurse's office. This was exactly what Hifumi was hoping for. He took a blood packet from the refrigerator and Justice Hammer 3 and turned the room into a crime scene in which he himself had apparently been brutally murdered. He let out a scream to draw us back, and when we returned, that's what we found. Meanwhile, the other group that had been out searching found Taka's body at the same time. So when we heard the body discovery announcement, we naturally assumed it was for Hifumi. We left the nurse's office, and Hifumi once again took advantage of the situation. He simply got up and made his escape. When we learned his body had disappeared, we all rushed back to the nurse's office. And once again, Hifumi had the chance he was waiting for. This time, he snuck into the equipment room. He wrapped Taka's body in a tarp and used the dolly to move it all the way down to the repository. That explains how each of the bodies disappeared. But even Hifumi didn't know what the true killer had in mind for their final act. Their plan all along was to kill Hifumi and get rid of the one person who could betray them. And they did it using an ordinary, everyday hammer from the repository.
Boom
That should
shakalaka.
cover everything that happened in this case. And the villain behind it all is...
Hero.